Hey guys, welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. My name is Samaria and I'm joined by my best friend and co-host.
Miosha.
And today we're reviewing Married at First Sight, season 18, episode 14.
14.
There we go. All right, if you've been watching this season, if you're interested in the show, please give this video a like. Leave us a comment down below. That's where we meet up. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. All right, we are gonna get Carla and Juan over because they were like a comma in this episode.
Yeah.
Um,
Nothing much.
yeah, what did you have on them?
I mean, they meet with this intuitive healer. This is very much Carla's thing. I don't know that this lady knows what she's talking about, saying that they're soulmates and that she sees the connection there. I don't know if production told her to say that, but one thing that she did say, where I'm like, okay, she's able to observe how Juan is a bit closed off, how his analytical mind may be ruining this.
Yes.
And I don't know. I think Carla could be a good match for him, but I don't think that he could be a good match for her just because I don't think he's into all of the things that she's into.
Yeah.
And he's not even willing, I feel like, at this point to, like, he's showing up, but it's clearly not his thing.
Yeah.
He's not on board with it.
And he even says it later on with his brother, which I think on the after party, and based on his brother's comments on the episode, but his brother is more into the spirituality and stuff like that. So maybe Juan's brother is your soulmate, Carla. Maybe that's what the lady was picking up on.
I know. Yeah. So they have that meeting, and then, yeah, he meets up with the brother. Nothing comes of that conversation other than him just saying that all the crystals and it's just all too much in him. He'd rather stay grounded, which is his prerogative. So,
Yeah.
all right.
All right. Thomas and Camille. So they meet with Pastor Cal, and I guess they're starting to have conversations about what's next, which is exciting.
It is. And so before they meet with Pastor Cal, they're at home cooking together, and the conversation comes up then. And so this is a reoccurring theme for them in this episode. That we see, they don't have any other issues or drama that they're willing to put out there. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. For me, I understand talking about what's next from maybe a theoretical standpoint, but at the same time, decision day still has to come. And so I get the vibe from both of them that they're still evaluating what the answer will be on decision day. Yes.
Really? I don't get that vibe at all. So that's why I thought like this was kind of on par. Like, yeah, we believe we're saying yes on decision day, so we need to figure out what's happening after that because we won't have this married at first sight apartment anymore. And we live on opposite sides of town. Our leases are not up and all that stuff. So let us know if you got that vibe.
Well, so in the beginning, whether it was at the apartment when they were cooking or they were meeting with Pastor Cal, Thomas is like, well, I'm flexible. I'm open to whatever. He's like, I could sublet my apartment. He's maintaining this energy of I'm flexible. I'm flexible. Part of me was thinking, is he leaving it so open-ended and not taking the lead because he doesn't want to give the impression that his answer on decision day is more solid than what it actually is? And then on her side, I thought, okay, well, if she's pushing for him to take the lead, then of course, yeah, she must really feel secure maybe and that he's going to say yes and she will too. But then on this dinner date, she says, oh, well, I think he asked something about, oh, well, do you need to be in love on decision day to say yes?
Yeah.
And then she says something about, well, yeah, I don't know, I could get there and just look at you and be like, oh, well, that was fun. That was nice. And so I'm like, okay, so you want him to take the lead on talking about what's next, but then you say that. So I left a bit confused in that it seems like they're still wanting the last week or two to figure out what their final answer will be. And I understand that you want to start talking about what's next, But I guess in my mind, if you commit to something and the answer isn't what, like, say you commit and you find a place and the answer isn't what either one of you think it will be, then you just committed to something and y'all aren't together. And then on the flip side, yeah, you could be in a predicament where we have to get out of this apartment and then you have to figure out the back and forth. So in my mind, I'm like, why don't you just wait until decision day? What's the difference of 2 weeks? I don't understand.
Oh, okay. Well, if this were me in the situation, I would need a plan. Like, because 2 weeks is not. But it seems like the plan is we spend some time at this person's house and the other time at this person's house. So if that's the temporary plan, then that gives more time. And with Thomas, I don't know that I took it as him being hesitant to say yes on decision day. I think I feel most sure about him, which is a comforting feeling for me. Like, we never know where these people are going to go. But I think that is just his way of being, where it's kind of like, oh yeah, I could go either way. Like, he's just more chill. So that's what I was reading, but I don't know.
And I didn't get that he would say yes or no. I got kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of like, I was feeling confident, and I'm like, oh, this could go either way. But as much as I would want a plan, because I feel like in the past seasons we've had a similar conversation where I'm like, I think it was in Tennessee. What was her name?
Kristen and Shaquille.
No. The shorter one, Nicole. I think they were talking about the whole thing because they had all those dogs and trying to figure it out. And
Yeah.
so this conversation has happened at least twice that I know of since I've been watching. And I understand wanting to have a plan, but I think it was also in San Diego with Lindy and Miguel where it was a similar thing. But I'm like, okay, you still have to make it to decision day. And I think sometimes if you are on the fence or you don't know, you may be hesitant to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sublet my place and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. That can give an energy of you're a sure yes and you're not a sure yes.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Let us know what y'all think in the comments.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like it was pretty sure. I thought whatever soundbite they played of Camille was just the producer's way of keeping us, the audience, on our toes, which obviously they can't make her say that, so she would have said it. But yeah, it was giving me more of like Lauren and Cameron, Love is Blind season 1, than it was people who are more unsure. But
Okay.
we shall
Well,
see.
yeah, we'll see. I hope it's a yes for both of
Yeah.
them on decision day.
Yeah. All right, Ikechi and Amem, you want to kick us? They got the experts working real hard this season.
Especially Dr. Pia, and
Yeah.
I don't know. So, Imem meets with Dr. Pia. They sit down, and Imem basically tells her, hey, there's been no communication, which to me is a signal of no commitment. He finally does come in, greets Dr. Pia, barely looks at Imem, and in true Ikechi fashion, lies about the fact that he was actually going to greet her. So Dr. Pia has to call out, hey, you're not going to greet or say hi to your wife? He says, oh, I was going to say hi. No, you weren't. My
Like,
whole
okay,
thing is,
Ikechi, we're all stupid.
if you're going to be that rude to
Yeah.
someone, own it. Just own it at this point. Don't gaslight us. We saw what we saw. You sat down for a minute. Dr. Pia gave you a few seconds to say
Yeah.
something. And even if you didn't hug her, you could have just said, "Hey, what's up?"
Hello,
So
acknowledge her
no,
as a
no,
human
no
being.
acknowledgement at
Not
all.
even like as your wife, just as another human being who's in this process with you.
I
Um,
mean, my goodness, if my child acted this way, I'm like, as a parent, I know I taught you to speak to people when you walk into a room at a
yeah.
minimum.
Yeah.
Even people you call yourself beefing with is, oh hey, it don't have to be a long elaborated speech, but say
Yes.
something. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
And then he says, oh, it's so awkward. It's because you're making it awkward.
Right. He never thinks he's the like root of the problem ever. But I appreciated that Imam waited and let him talk. I'm gonna go in order of the thoughts that I wrote down so that I don't get ahead of myself.
Okay.
I disagreed with him about MM being passive aggressive. I think a lot of people would. I think the most passive aggressive I seen her was this episode. But we'll get to that at the end. I don't know. For people who don't really know each other, as he says, there's just so much hostility. And I wish Ikechi realized it's coming from his end and not necessarily MM's.
Well, yeah, even when he calls out her passive aggressive, Dr. Pia, or how she's been passive aggressive, Dr. Pia is like, okay, well, what exactly has happened? Y'all haven't had any contact in the last week, or we'll say 3 or 4 days, for her to be passive aggressive in this sense,
Exactly.
because he goes to Houston. There's no communication. Imam follows his lead by leaving him alone, and he
Yes.
flat out lies by saying, "Oh well, we've been busy." No, so this is why he's upset, is because he's not able to lie
Yes.
and not be held accountable for it.
And don't speak for me. Like, if you've been busy, say that. Do not come in and be like, oh, we've been busy. No, I can make time for this. That's actually what I signed up to do. But Dr. Pia asks him point blank, do you want this marriage to end? Is this something that you want to continue? And I have two feelings about this. One, he couldn't clearly say, no, I don't want this marriage. He says it doesn't feel like a marriage. And then he says it doesn't feel like a want or a desire. And I just wish he would say things with his chest. At the same time, I wanted to hold Amem's hand as her friend and just be like, all the signs are there. They're in amber at this point. They're glaring at you. And I, a part of me hates that she got emotional, but I understand we're human. So she gets up, she dismisses herself, goes to the bathroom, and I just didn't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, it's hard watching him continue to dismiss her,
Yeah.
and she's still getting emotional and holding on. I will say part of me feels like, especially based off what happened later in the episode, I think part of the emotion is her frustration, because I'm frustrating watching this.
For
But I
sure.
think it's also you kind of mourning what you wanted the process to be. But we're
Absolutely.
also like kind of so far in where it's like, okay, girl, we're going to have to get things together and keep it
Yeah.
moving. So I don't even think it's that she wants him so bad. It's that, man, this is all coming crashing down. And the lack of accountability is also very frustrating.
Yeah. So when she gets up to leave, Dr. Pia and Ikichi have a conversation about empathy. And I wrote down empathy and Ikichi have never been in the same room. They are
Mm-mm.
strangers. They don't even pass by each other. One person's in the room and leaves, and then the other person comes in. There's no crossover here. It felt to me like MM was giving Paige a little bit. And I hate to say that because I absolutely adore MM, but Paige from the Atlanta season is the energy that I was getting here with her even agreeing to continue this process with someone who all but said, and I understand he didn't say it directly, but all but said, I don't want this.
Yeah. So I didn't watch that season, so I can't speak to Paige, how she was acting, but I could get with it from what I've seen.
Yeah.
I also get that something about Emim is like using her drive and ambition
Yes.
and not wanting to lose or seem like a failure to apply to how she's
Yeah.
navigating this relationship and this whole process. So it just gives, I'm not a quitter, I'm not a fighter. You're not going to
Yeah.
be able to say, I walked out on a marriage. And in her defense, unfortunately, when you end a relationship and definitely a marriage, people want to understand why. Like, because they're not there. Now, granted, they could watch all this back, but for
Yeah.
regular people, where they're not going to get all the film around all the reasons as to why you would leave a marriage, I could understand to a certain extent you wanted to be like, oh, well, I did all I could do to ensure that this could move forward and that you're not so quick just to quit on things. So, and I'm not saying
Yeah.
I agree with that, but
Yeah.
I think she's applying that no quitter determination, energy on this, and I don't think that it should be.
Yeah, it's almost like she doesn't know how not to be herself. And this is how she shows up in every other space. So it's how she's showing up here. But we also have to learn how to compartmentalize, when you're dealing in relationships. Like when it's just you can act in ways that show that ambition and that drive and all of that. But when you're dealing in relationship, you do have to let the other person's energy also dictate how you move, especially when their behavior is as poor as Ikichi's has been.
Yeah, because I think it could be interpreted as you being desperate.
Yeah.
And you're not. You don't want to be a quitter. You don't want to lose. But
Yeah.
it's giving a bit of desperation, especially I'm jumping ahead, but like them walking off and her holding him, like,
well, even him asking, "Oh, you want to go play video games? I'm gonna beat you." It was very African parent. Did you eat? Like, you haven't given me an apology. You haven't been accountable. You haven't done.
I'm a beat your A. I'm sorry, y'all aren't even cool enough to be joking. You've spent the last how many weeks calling her aggressive, implying that you don't feel safe. Maybe I'm jumping ahead, but I think he said something to the effect of how he spent the weekend in Houston in solitude and safety. Excuse me?
Yeah, they talked to him about that on the after party because it's like, okay, why are you inviting her to play video games if you're over the marriage? And he was like, oh, it was just like, like let's just go and chill without the cameras and, us acknowledging that the relationship was over, but we could just kick back and have fun. And Keisha Napoleon said that, that's giving mixed signals to someone who is eager to have things work out, which maybe that's why I don't see the mixed signals is because... I'm not a person who's eager for it to work out, but yeah, they did discuss that on the after party.
Yeah, and it is definitely like where he's, out of 10 things he's done, 9 of them have been, I'm out of this, I'm over it, I'm not into you. And then he, on the 10th thing, is like, oh, well, here's this little piece of an olive branch. But I will say, when Amee came back, she kind of goes into this speech around how she's learned so much about herself and how she may have... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, was this before or after the conversation with Michelle?
No, this is when they were sitting down with Dr. Pia. So.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to make sure.
No worries. But when Mem comes back, she gives a speech around how she really wanted this to work. She came in with the most genuine of intentions, how she's learned a lot about herself and how about what hurts her, but also how she may have been unintentionally hurting other people. Yeah. And there was a lot of accountability, and she apologized to him. Meanwhile, he sits there blank, no accountability to offer up for himself. But what that also showed me is, Mem is obviously very aware of the cameras and thinking probably, when this is all said and done, I'm going to own up to whatever piece of this I may have done to steer it in the wrong direction or to put him off. And I think it just kind of even made him look even more silly, even though I don't think it was her intention. Yeah. Because she can't control how he'll react. But to see her sit there and take accountability for what she felt her piece was, and him to give absolutely nothing.
It's been happening all season, and I think he hates it when she does that. And so when she doesn't blow up, he feels like he has to create opportunities for her to blow up. I think it really infuriates him when she gives the reaction of accountability and apology.
Well, she's the bigger person.
Yes, absolutely. And so he's like, okay, so now I have to switch things up so that she's not the bigger person anymore. And y'all can see how she reacts, because we'll get to it later, but even something he said on the after party was like, that's nobody else walked away with that conclusion except you. So, yeah. All right. Yeah. So we went ahead to Alan and
Madison.
And Madison.
Yeah. Or Tiffany.
Stop. Okay, so she comes home late again. One thing Madison gonna do is come home late. She comes home late again. Apparently she was at Velvet Taco. I meant to look up When does Velvet Taco close? What city
We
are
have
they in?
one here in Atlanta.
Oh yeah,
I never knew. I mean, but Chicago's, Chicago. Maybe if it's like downtown or I don't know.
I want to look
Either
this up.
way, you have subsequent nights of being out. Like, girl, for
4
someone to
a.m.
be so into like health and fitness, I don't understand you not valuing your sleep. I'm not. The way I would be at home getting my beauty rest.
Yeah. Well, apparently it stays open, or a couple of them stay open until 4 a.m. So that is likely where she was.
She come
But I
tiptoeing
said,
in, looking guilty.
I know. And then she was really chipper at this coffee with Dr. Pia, I noted.
Hmm.
The producers were very petty for showing, 3 days in a row? Because Alan was like, yeah, it happens often. She was like, no, not often, maybe once a week. He's like, no, maybe like 2 to 3 times a week. In that very week, they
Three
showed 2 to 3 times.
3 days in a row.
Yeah.
And yeah, Madison, and it's not even just that you're going out. It's like, okay, you could go out, but do you have to be out till 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m.? What is going
Yeah.
on between the hours of like 7 and 11 p.m. or 7 and midnight? I don't understand what is going on outside.
I'm sure she works, but what I didn't like about this whole conversation was she was saying, well, yeah, the moral of the story is that I go out more than him and he doesn't like it. And it's like, no, that's not what the moral of the story is. The moral of the story is you're consistently going out until the wee hours of the morning, and that is not okay, especially when during the first week he mentioned this to you as an issue for him. So you've been consistently doing it the entire time, and that's just not nice at this point
And you're not spending time with him. Aren't
at
these
all.
people still working and dealing with their day-to-day lives? So
Yeah.
in such a short process, you should be spending time with your person or at least inviting him out. And I think
Yeah.
we don't even know for sure where she's going, who she's with. I think that there is some validity to maybe she's with someone who it doesn't make sense for her to invite Alan out to be with.
Well, we know there's validity to that. But yeah, and then so Dr. Pia says, I don't think it's helpful to first go to your friends and not your partner. I said, Alan, God is talking to you through dreams because you seeing what you saw,
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's a sign. I don't know what your
No.
spiritual life is, but you must be locked in. You must be on Carla's level because
Mm-hmm.
you are getting you're getting intel in your dreams.
Oh yeah, and even how she handles the conflict. Okay, the in my humble opinion, none of these things that have happened are things that require you to be out to the wee hours of the night crying your eyes out to your girlfriends.
Yeah.
To me, none of it has risen to that level. Now I understand
Yeah.
you maybe need to learn what and how to communicate about your relationship to your friends. Okay, that could maybe take some time for you to understand what those boundaries are, but Alan does the smallest of things. Is like, nope, I'm out till 2 a.m. again. Oh, what did she say? Oh, well, when he does things to make me upset, it just doesn't make me want to be around him. Girl, what do you think marriage is? Are you just gonna leave the house every single time your spouse does something to annoy
Gonna be
you?
leaving a lot. You better have a second home.
Don't even bother living together, and then you throw kids in the mix. You're gonna be real annoyed.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so then they go to see a stylist together. I'm not gonna lie. That little brown outfit with the jacket and the khakis. I said, okay, Alan, I see you.
The styling scene was cute. And I'm pretty sure it was a production moment. I just feel
Yeah.
like the same way with Michelle. Like all of y'all dress very like normal and basic.
Two
You
piece
making
sets
a
from Fabletics or probably Shein. Like
right Zara, H&M, one of them. Pick one.
it's not
Target.
runway.
None of y'all are fashionistas. So what I don't understand is y'all harping so much on their fashion
Yeah.
when it's not like y'all are light years ahead. Now, if there's a special event or thing that's going on,
Yeah.
cool. But all of those outfits, y'all could have went to Nordstrom or so.
Somebody said MM is who Michelle thinks she is, like fashion wise.
I mean, Emem is going to serve a fashion moment. I can
Yeah.
see Emem commenting on Ikechi's fashion because his fashion is not terrible,
It's
but
t-shirt, jean jacket, beanie, khakis, backpack in that
right,
order.
rinse and repeat, and it does give a bit of juvenile or like
Yeah.
youthful,
Middle
for his
school.
age. Yeah,
Yeah.
high school. But if he works around kids, that's cool. That's the vibe he's on. But out of all the fashions, it should be Emem serving up the feedback
Yeah.
more so than anyone else. But he enjoyed it. He was feeling confident, and he's open to it or the
He looks
experience.
nice.
So, that's fine.
Yeah, I just hate every time he's on my screen and he's trying to impress her or trying to improve things for her because, in this case it's not worth it. Like I think he's ideally what we would want to see from a contestant on this show, but when it comes to who he's partnered with, no.
And what's even more crazy is based off what we know her or who we know her to be with, his fashions are not anything to write home about either.
But I think he has more swag is what she might say. Like, it's just how he carries himself. And that's why it's not about how he dresses. It's just his swag is different than what she wants. And that's that. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to Michelle and
Oh,
David.
one other small thing. I think it was in the car ride, they were talking about this Invisalign thing. Good for him. Regardless, you're gonna walk away with a nice smile. But something she said where I was like, girl, you didn't even have to say that. She says, oh, well, just do it for you. You should want to take care of yourself. This is the second time, or maybe even third time, that she's implied that Alan
He doesn't
doesn't
take care of
take
himself.
good care of himself.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just really wasn't here for that. It's one thing to say, like, hey, just make sure you do it for you.
Yeah, yeah.
But to imply that he doesn't take care of himself because he was okay with his teeth not being perfectly straight. If he has good dental hygiene and health, I think that's what matters the most. Like, I don't know. I just didn't like the implication of it, even with the whole health thing. Because he's not pumping iron at the gym for
Yeah.
hours, that doesn't mean that he doesn't take care of,
He's unhealthy.
doesn't
Yeah.
take good care of himself or care about his health.
Yeah.
And so,
And you just
yeah,
have different standards, which is fine. I don't think her standards are a problem. It's just not where he is.
right.
Um, okay, Michelle and David.
Mm-mm.
So the first time we see her, correct me if I'm wrong, is when she meets up with MM.
Yeah, they're out eating. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we didn't mention this with MM, but when she at this drinks thing goes, girl, he's not done. I was like, MM,
Oh, yeah.
now I like you. Don't do it. Don't have me out here wanting to reel back in my support. Not that it matters. She don't know me, but
Yeah.
like, MM, he is done, and I think it was just really sad. Like this happens in the real world, so I do think people can see this as an example because a mem otherwise is a confident woman. She's smart, savvy,
Hmm.
like she's great, and so it did just hurt a little bit to see her be like, "Girl, he's not done for real." When he is, he
Really
never
quick.
started.
Really quick, because I think we're doing good on time. But I saw somewhere where people were saying that they felt like Imim came in too thirsty for marriage and
Yeah.
that she came in too eager. Um, do you think that she did, that she should have been more reserved for this
The, sh-
process?
the show is called Married at First Sight.
Okay.
Everybody's thirsty a little bit, whether it's for fame on the internet
Hmm.
or it's for marriage. And so I do think how she showed up is how I would expect people to show up. I think she should
Okay.
have pulled back sooner. That's
Right.
where I lost her. It was like, okay, once you see he's not coming with the same energy, you don't put that energy out there. You reserve your energy, kind of protect yourself a little bit, which you shouldn't be having to self preserve in a
Hmm.
healthy relationship, but this is clearly not that.
My thoughts were, I agree with that, as well as I think if it's a juxtaposition, like compared to her partner, I could see how she does look thirsty. It's because he came like barely wanting to stick his foot in, and it's like you're already married. So if you're comparing it to that, yeah, she does look thirsty. She does look eager compared to the person who, yeah, I signed up for Married at First Sight, but I really don't want to be married at first sight.
Yeah.
And I think the mere fact that you sign up for this show says a lot about, like, you're here, you're legally married.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So this whole idea of like, oh, we're you show up, but you don't be too interested. You don't really try to get to know the person. You don't seem like you're all in. I don't know. It's like if she were paired with someone who matched that energy, that feedback wouldn't even be there.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Yeah, fair. Okay, so Michelle and Amem. So apparently David reaches out. He wants to clear the air. Michelle has obviously put two and two together. I think it was Madison. I think they were out together, yada, yada, yada. What I didn't like, and I saw people in the comments, and I understand you guys want us to be like, oh, David is horrible for what he's doing. Agreed. But you won't see me feeling sorry for Michelle. You'll see me feeling sorry for Alan, because I think he's the one who this impacts the most. But when Michelle said something to the effect of, I could see him being interested in Madison, but I can't see her being interested in him. It's like, why is it so far-fetched that someone could see worth in this guy? She just continues to say things that, because of the history, rub me the wrong way.
yeah, you know, I think part of me is I just don't care. Like I just don't. It sounds bad. I just don't care. Maybe that it happened the way that it did because she never gave it a chance. Like if she were emotionally invested, I think I would be more likely to care. I think I'm okay with her pressing on this because I want the truth revealed.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
don't care that she's vindicated. Like
yeah.
the way she was acting just went on for too long. I think that he was obviously dead wrong, but I just can't care enough because she didn't care about him. So I was like, oh, okay, girl, like I could see how you would feel a way that he couldn't wait until the process was over and he lied to you.
Yes,
But
yes.
I'm all for her pressing on his neck to be like the truth will come out because I just want to see it exposed. So
Yeah, because at this point it is going on a little too long. So David comes and meets her, and he's like, it was this girl named Tiffany, and I sent it to her. I should have. I messed up. I made a mistake. Just trying to take accountability, but still protect who we think it was meant
but he's still
for.
lying. It's not.
Still lying.
It's not still. Well, yeah, he's protecting her, but he's still lying. David, you
Yeah.
still lying. Why
Period.
you always lying? Like,
Yeah. And then she goes on this. Well, why should I believe it? What did you think about that?
I mean, it kind of makes sense because he's still lying. I mean, she could have worded it different, but she knows, like we know, he's still lying. So because she wants to be fully vindicated, and because I think she's sensing that it's someone close in the circle, she wants it exposed. And it's kind of true. You lied 3 different times.
Yeah.
Why all of a sudden today is the truth? And we know that it's still, so now it's the fourth, it's I guess the fourth lie. The fourth time that he's lying about it. So
Yeah.
yeah. I could see why she's like, why should I believe you now? Now I will say, because we know she's not interested in him and she's lying about that part,
Yeah.
girl, why are you pressing? But we
So
know
when he responded how he did, I was like, yeah, like, I don't care if you believe me at this point. You were never into me. Nothing I would have done would have made you into me. And I appreciated him standing up for himself, like just saying, there's no excuse for what I did, but I've known your decision for like 2 weeks, probably more. There was no changing that for you at all. So if you don't believe me, okay,
Yeah.
it's not like I'm telling you this to preserve our relationship. At this point, he's just telling her it to try to save face, which again does not work. Like, maybe you're just spinning in the web of lies at this point, so that is always going to come back and bite you, unfortunately. And fortunately, because you can't be lying like that.
And he finally said, like, yeah, it was not easy, and it hurt me to basically hear you put me down and, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not good enough on things that I know I can do better at or be better at.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then she's like, oh, well, you told me you thought my honesty was sexy and that you were okay with it. Why would you wait until now to tell me? My thoughts on that is, I think what he was trying to say is, I can appreciate your honesty and you
Yeah.
not leading me on from the beginning, but to not be able to progress past it weeks and weeks and weeks, you're
Yeah.
not staying at the apartment, we can barely have a decent conversation, your idea of making progress really isn't. We had a 20-minute conversation, that was progress. I
Yeah.
understood what he was saying. Yeah, your honesty is a good thing,
Yeah.
but I think, Michelle, you are a bit naive if you think you're going to continue for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks
Rejecting somebody. Yeah.
rejecting someone, and that at no point they'd be like, all right, F it then. And not that he should have did it in the way that he did, of course,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but that at some point that they wouldn't start to feel a way about how you're interacting with them. Because she could have still stayed at the apartment and still been like, I'm not sure. She could have
Yeah.
still been interacting with him more and still be like, I'm not sure about this moving forward. Even how she acted on the honeymoon, you could be on the fence about him and not treat him the way that you did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's one thing to be honest and then to be rude. Eh. So he could have said something sooner and definitely not start talking to Madison or Tiffany. But
When he said, when she said, "Oh, why do you want me to get over it so that we could go to the couples retreat and be a happy couple?" Girl, no, nobody could be a happy couple with you. Like, maybe somebody can, but nobody from this cast could be a happy couple with you. I think the ship has sailed on anybody this season being a happy couple with you. And so I just wasn't here for her constant jabs and questioning. Girl, you don't care.
But what did you think about him being like, oh, well, I'm still here in it with you. Like, I still would want this to work. Now, David, here you go lying again.
We know that's
We,
not
we on the
true.
fifth or sixth one. I don't even know which
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. Like, you can't keep lying. Like, just you were doing all right. Just abort mission, abort
Like,
mission.
like I know, something is progressing with Madison. So why
Yeah,
even, this was your out. This was your out. You could have just said, okay, I'm done, or just not say anything.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think she was like, "Yeah, well, you picked this timing to change the storyline," and I said, "Michelle, girl, you were going too hard for someone who never liked him," and I think she doesn't want to accept that she's also accountable for how things went.
Hmm.
Her having the audacity to say, "I don't even know this person in front of me." Yeah, you never did. You never took the time to. But what I am interested in, however, is David and the producer. That conversation.
Right. So I think, when they're coming and going, these producers are in that building. The producer saw, the production has been on to the fact that these two have been spending time together. Maybe they don't know the full extent of what's going on. So when the
Yeah,
producer is like, hey, what's the full story? I'm confused here. Because whatever the producer heard him tell Michelle, they knew was a lie. So they're
yeah,
like, give me the full story.
yeah.
And so, yeah, production already knows what the deal is. They know.
Period. Yeah, so I was hoping more would come out of that conversation. But other than that, we could go to the couples retreat.
Also, why would they leave it in? Because all he did was repeat what he told Michelle.
Yeah, yeah,
Why
yeah, yeah.
leave that in than to let us know that y'all knew?
They probably want to show us some clips at the reunion or something like that. Who knows? They have their
Mm-mm.
reasons. All right. So, couples retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. We didn't talk about Camille and Thomas splitting the bills down the middle, but they both seem to be okay with that. So,
Yeah, I don't care.
yeah. Whatever each couple decides, I think is what that couple decides. Period. Okay. So, Amem and Michelle go to the couples retreat together. They don't know if David's coming. They don't know if Ikechi's coming. Michelle talks to Emem about how she feels disrespected and mad, which I think is just because of her ego, not because she cared about David. But she's like, and he wants me to be ready to move on and ready to forgive. I said, girl, since we've met you this season, and I'm sure she must be a stellar person outside of this, but she's never been ready to move on or forgive anything, and she's been very insufferable. So that's what I thought. Then when they get to the house, I noted that Alan got David a drink. I noted that Alan is a catch. He'd be cooking. He'd be serving up the drinks.
Right.
Like, Alan, come on our channel. We'll hook you up with somebody. Let's do our own little dating show.
Listen, come
We
on
would
down
do
to
it.
the A.
For you, Alan, only.
Right.
Oh, man. But yeah, anything else that you want to get into before, I guess, the major things?
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of tension there when Madison, David, and they're all there. Michelle's looking like, observing everything, and yeah.
It was very awkward. And even Madison was like, oh, can you bring a knife to cut the tension? So obviously everybody knows what's going on. I'm sure these people talk to each other.
But I will say, in that instance, I don't know if Alan
knows. That's
knows, because he
the
seemed the most
person.
relaxed and like, but
Serving
Madison,
everybody.
right? Madison is over there shaking in her panties.
She was. And when we get to the dinner, if you don't mind, I'll talk about them at the
Yeah.
dinner before we talk
Yeah.
about Kitchen and then we can end on them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we get to them in the dinner. Her reaction to the conversation was just over the top for being a cast member. So they continue to draw attention to themselves. Even David being like, Alan, I would just drop it, man. Like, hold on, I like both of y'all, but don't be talking to Alan like that now. You gotta pump the brakes.
Well, I never understood. I mean, I understand because they're guilty,
Yes.
but in my mind, if you really want to put on that nothing is going on between the two of you, you could have just let the conversation go where it needed to go and say what you needed to say in front of everyone to get through the dinner. But maybe that's their guilty conscience. I don't know. The way that David responded was almost kind of like, bruh, don't say too much because I already got your woman. Like, you can't even
Yes.
speak on this.
To like
'Cause-
save him the embarrassment. Like,
right. And
ugh,
then
that broke my heart.
Madison, how did she say it? She was just like, I'm not going to sit through this. I'm going to just go pack up my ish and leave. I'm sorry, Michelle questioning David about, like,
She got up saying, oh, I don't want to have any serious conversations. It's a couples retreat. It's going to come up.
but the serious conversation, the reason why you didn't want to have it is because you didn't want to see the man that you're messing with in the hot seat about something he was doing. But realistically, at this point, they could have just gotten through that conversation. I mean, what am I missing? All Alan would have been like, no, I'm not kissing other people, even though Madison is, maybe not at that point where she wants to do it with me yet.
Yeah.
And that would have been that. You told on yourselves.
Yeah. And you know what I will say I appreciated, of course, from Tom, Thomas, he asked Michelle, like, okay, so why are you giving this reaction? Is it because you actually care for the marriage? Is it because it triggers something else inside of you? Because that's the question we all want to know. Like, I appreciate that the cast this season is holding each other accountable. Because if we can see it, they clearly can. And Carla said that on the after party too. So Carla did not hold any punches. She said, I can understand why David did what he did. It has been rocky and rough watching you guys as a couple this season. It's been very uncomfortable. You haven't given him a chance. And Michelle's like, well, did you step out on Juan because he was this and that? And Carla's like, yeah, no, I didn't. But if someone was rejecting me, like, Juan is at least nice to Carla. He's doing things with Carla. That's not you and David. So stop trying to deflect and focus on being accountable for your actions, I think.
Yeah, that whole scene was just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to move on to Ikechi, who shows up and stands in the corner like he's an axe murderer? Why was he standing back there like that?
Oh, I got a shellfish allergy. Then
But
leave.
he goes to the table to get him. How
Make it
deep is
make
that
sense.
allergy?
Yeah, so he shows up late again. He comes with a green folder in hand. Doesn't greet anyone. That's another thing. He's also just like socially awkward where it's like
Yeah.
you walk in, hey y'all, what did everybody else do to you? Nothing. Okay, you don't want to
Yeah.
speak to her. What about everyone? You walk in, hey y'all, nah, I'm just staying here at
Yeah,
the
even when
house.
Alan's like, "Do you want a drink? Do you want?" Oh yeah, I can't because I can't eat shellfish. Okay, but don't just stand there and glare at us, weirdo. Like, relax.
Uh,
So yeah, he
anyways.
pulls him into the side, and this is the most that I've seen her belittle him is in this moment, and he deserved it. He had it coming. So Ikechi brought a green folder. It's so funny
Mhm.
how we're like recounting all the details. Why does it matter that the folder was green?
Because when was the last time you seen a green folder?
Well, if you teach middle school or high school, they probably have some green folders
So you're
lying
taking
around.
supplies from school.
Bye. Out here taking supplies. But yeah, so he gives this to her and he's like, just to end things on a peaceful note, I just would like you to sign the divorce papers. And so Mem opens it up and she's like, there's nowhere for me to sign. And she was really loud with it. This is just one divorce paper. This is not, it's one of four. Where are the other 3 pages? This is just one page and there's nowhere for me to sign. I'll give you your divorce, but this is not a legal document. Like, this is not a legitimate document. He's like, oh, just go ahead and sign. No. Someone commented last week, like, oh, and them still being petty. And I was like, I didn't know what the situation was, but I was like, if I'm on a show and we have, say, 10 days left, and if I get to the end of the 10 days, this show is paying for my divorce, they're handling the entire legal aspect, you're not getting it early out of me either. Like, I'm gonna let the show handle what the show needs to handle at this point instead of signing your little paper.
Yeah, and you would also get a lawyer. I'm
Yes.
sorry. I mean, I didn't take that scene as belittling him. I mean, I took it as her stating the facts. You come to me to make a scene, to embarrass me because you're doing it in front of everyone.
Yeah.
You hand me something that's incomplete. On top of the fact, even if it was complete, she's not an idiot. You would not sign something. Are you able to read through it that quickly, understand it? You would want your lawyer to read through it, as well as the show clearly is set up to where you can't divorce during the filming process because
Yeah, yeah.
the paperwork would be filed. People would know that you were like, we would already know the results of what happened. So yeah, that does not make she wouldn't have signed it regardless because I'm pretty sure their contract says you cannot have a divorce until after the show airs. At least like the decision day, at least. So
Yep.
I didn't
So,
take it as belittling. I
yeah.
take it as you're silly for stepping to me with this, and if I have to call you out on the specific facts, then
Yes.
it just is what it is.
To even look at it, like, so Allison, Carla on the after party was like, so what it looked like to me was, one, it was very goofy. And then she reiterated, she said it was goofy AF, but she said the words. It to his face because he was sitting right next to her. I thought you set that up. I know. But she just said it in her Carla way and very calm, like, I thought it was goofy AF. It seemed like you set up this scenario to come to the retreat and embarrass her, but then it ended up turning back on you and embarrassing you. And he was like, oh, well, because they asked this question, if you could do it over, how would you do it? He said, I would have somebody else take the papers to her. I wouldn't have even wasted my gas because I was trying to do her a favor by showing up and bringing the papers myself. But then when she blew up like that, I was like, at no point did
Blew
she
up.
blow up. She told you, you must not know what divorce papers look like because this ain't it. You must not understand how legal documents work because when it says 104, I need to read all four, and there's an actual place on the final page for me to, put my signature. She called you out for being goofy because that's what you were being.
And it still doesn't make sense that you would present her with divorce papers knowing that, like, they've let people back out before decision day, but I don't think that they let them file their divorces because they want to air as many episodes as they can without the public really knowing
Yeah.
what happened. So that
Yeah.
still doesn't make sense. You took it upon yourself to draw up these divorce papers. First of all, everything now is done electronically.
Yes.
Most lawyers email these things, docu-sign these things back and forth. No one's hardly, like, even if you sign a physical copy, you have to upload it. We're electronically signing everything. Like, what?
He did it for dramatic effect. And it's like, why? Like, why be petty? You're a 42-year-old man. Why be so toxic? And so when Ketchy comes, and when Bim comes back to the table, she's like, he did it to hurt me, but he can't hurt me. And then her and Camille, and won't, and
won't,
did it, and
and
can't. I said, okay, peanut gallery. Yeah. So I think coming to the couples retreat just to serve papers was some of the most toxic behavior I've seen from a man who wears a beanie.
Do you think production put him up to this?
No. I think he's capable of that on his own.
Yeah.
Because that's why on the after party he said if he could do it again. Now he wouldn't do it. He would send the papers by somebody else. Okay.
So
you would
yeah,
still
he
do it. You
did
still
it on
wouldn't
his own
embarrass her.
accord.
Okay.
Yeah, because I feel like I saw some people being like, oh, production must have had him do it. I'm like, I don't know.
No. He is petty on his own. And he wasted his gas to come and try to make a scene. And he didn't get it. He got one, but it was not in his favor like he thought it would
The
be.
couples retreat is a weekend, is my guess. Y'all both live in Chicago. Y'all could have met up on Monday or Tuesday and got this done. It still does not make sense, in my opinion.
Well, that's all I have. Let me go and nurture my sick.
Yeah,
self.
Not
We
feeling
just want
well, but
to
we
make sure
did-
we got this out for you guys. But yeah, let us know what you thought about all the drama. And we are very excited to get closer to the end of this season and to start Love is Blind next week. It comes out on the 14th of February on Valentine's Day. So yeah, we will see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Bye.